What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your boy, the network. And today's topic is, again, default routing. This is section 3.4, configure and default routing. This is a section topic in the CCNP route exam code 300-101 version 2.0. We are going to be discussing default routes, but we are going to propagate them using OSPF, which is a dynamic routing protocol. Let's take a look at the exam blueprint to see where we came from, where we headed, if you haven't been keeping up with us. So this is exam blueprint, implementing Cisco IP routing, exam code 300-101. Again, this is version 2.0. Make sure you're studying for the correct material and that is up to date. And we finished the second section of configure and verify default routing. We are now wrapping up. We are now going to be doing the third section, and after that, we're going to do the fourth section. The third, which is right now, is OSPF. The fourth one will be BGP. So we're going to be creating a default route and then using BGP to propagate that route or share that route if you want it in simpler terms. Like I said, in these videos, I just try to dumb it down, even though it just try to make these complex topics seem a little elementary, even though they're not really elementary. They can be if you just kind of, just break it down like the way I do, I guess. All right, so, and then after that, we're going to do evaluate routing protocol types and finally move on to that. For now, we're doing OSPF default routes. Again, this is not a default route. Again, it's corny imagery. There's two ways to configure a default route in OSPF. Today, we're just going to be doing one because the second way is using stub area. So that's going to be objective 3.26, which if you can see in the exam blueprint, it is right in here. Somewhere in here, we're going to be discussing propagating default routes using OSPF. So we're going to discuss it there instead. For now, we're going to just discuss this one method using the default information originate command. This is kind of akin to the redistribute static in EIGRP. So this is kind of like the same way, but they just use different wording. Cisco just like to trip you up for these. I don't know. They just do it for these exams. They just could have used the same words in all the protocols, but I guess they decided not to because for whatever reason. Did you know that Cisco's certifications and exams and stuff, they make like a majority of their money, not through just selling their products, like their hardware and networking solutions and stuff like that. Route switch, that's not their main, like exams and testing and certifications and stuff like that. That is their bread and butter, believe it or not. Anyways, one of their bread and butters at least. Let's go ahead and cut this short. Let's try to cut this short. This is real simple activity that we're gonna do in Packet Tracer. Yes, my favorite Packet Tracer. Yesterday I did some. We did this in hardware when we did it. Sharing default routes using EIGRP. But anyways, so the default information originate command. You use this on an ASBR, which is also known as an autonomous system boundary router. So any routers that are like in between areas, if you know how OSPF works, those are the only ones that you could use to flood a default route with into a domain. And then the route, it says here, the route will be injected as an E2 route, which I believe is an external OSPF type 2 route with the metric of 20, type 5 LSA. So the metric of 20, it's kind of like a BGP route. It's kind of like a BGP route, really, because it's the same metric, but you're just kind of, like it says, injecting that route or sharing that route, really, to the domain. Be like, hey, look, this is how you get to the default route, basically. So it's kind of like, I said this in the EIGRP video. You getting out of your neighborhood, right? And you phone back home and be like, hey, look, this is how you get out of the neighborhood. You take this road and you'll be able to get out of the neighborhood. And everybody at home going to know how to get out of the neighborhood. That's what the default route is. But essentially when you're propagating that route, that's what you're doing. You just kind of letting other people know how to get out, or other routers how to get out of the network. This route must exist in the routing table already. So that means you have to create the static route first. Once it's in there, then you can share it. The same thing with EIGRP. You can't share that route well, you could share that route, but when you're using the default network, IP default network, the route has to be statically entered, and it has to show up in your routing table as a static route. From there, you'll be able to share it using in EIGRP. It's redistribute static or IP default network, and with OSPF, we use default information originate. The always parameter will advertise default even if it is not in the routing table. So if it's not in the routing table, all you got to do is just add this always right here at the end. The example we're gonna do today is just gonna do it with we ain't got to put that keyword in. I might try to create a topology and flex on my hardware, and we might practice that on hardware. But for now, we're just gonna do the packet tracer, real simple topology. Let's move along to the activity. All right, so this is the topology right here. Right, we got 3 routers: router 1, 2, and 3. Right, each one of them has their have their own local area networks, respectively. See that? That's router 1's local area network, router 2's LAN, router 3's LAN, and then router 2 is also connected to the internet, plus this web server behind it, right? Or it's in the cloud if you want to call it that. And then what we're going to do is router 2 is going to create a default route to the internet and then share it, phone home, basically, and let these guys know how to get there, So that's what we're going to do. So it's just 2 steps, really, we're going to do. So create the static route and then propagate it. So router 2, and the answers are there too. So we really ain't gonna be stumbling through this like I did with the hardware. So this is a 2900 router. We are gonna go into the CLI. Let me make this bigger for y'all. So we go to router 2, right? And then we are gonna create a static route from router 2 to the internet. Enable, configure terminal, and IP. The quad 0, which is the default route, right? Subnet mask is also quad 0. And then instead of using an interface, instead of using the IP address, the next hop IP address, we're going to use the exit interface. I could have done this in the other video where we first started talking static routes, or default routes rather, which was part 1 of the default routes. What I did was I used the forwarding routers address when I did show CDP, find out what the ISP's router was, and then use that as the next hop. I really didn't need to do that. I could have just put the exit interface. So in this case, it's serial 0. Actually, this is what we got to do. Yeah, serial 0/1/0. Oh, I forgot the route part. Control A. Route. So IP route quad 0 serial 010. We get this warning saying default route without a gateway is not, if not, a point-to-point interface may impact performance. But this is a /27. It's pretty much a point-to-point interface, even though they should have really used a /28 for that, or /30 for that is what they should have used. But anyways, because they're wasting address space with that subnet mask right here. What we're going to do is, so now if we do a show IP route, you'll see the static route is right here, right? Directly connected, serial 0. It's an S there because it's a static route. There's a star, which means it's a candidate default, which means, hey, we could use this as a default route because it's a static route, really. Quad 0/0 is directly connected, right? Y'all see that, right? And right now, we also, it even says that it's our default gateway. Gateway last resort is quad 0 to network quad 0. And that's basically what we did there. So now we're going to share that route with these guys. But before we do that, using OSPF, we need to know about our OSPF processes. Let's get out of this and do a show IP protocol. You see, we only got one process here, so we need to go to router OSPF 1, right? Y'all see that? Configure terminal, router OSPF 1. And then we are going to use the default, simple, information, originate. I ain't even really got to type it all. And now, when we do that, we are sharing that route with these guys. I wish I would have showed y'all the IP, the routing table for the other guys so y'all can see when it was without it. Maybe I'll edit into here. Do show IP route. Let's see what's changed on router 2's. Nothing has changed. He still has that static route there, right? Nothing in here says that he's sharing it. However, if we go to router 2 or router 3, actually router 1 or router 3, let's pick router 1 and enable show IP routes. You will see that there's the static route has been shared. It wasn't there before. Maybe I can edit it in here if I have the time. But now we have gateway of last resort 172.16.3.2. That's basically his next hop, I believe. Yeah, so this is 16.3.0 network. 16.3.2 is right here, the serial 000 interface of router 2, which I believe is that guy. That's his next hop. That's his default gateway also. And as you can see, it says O for OSPF, star for candidate default, E2, like we discussed in the slides, is a OSPF external type 2 route. I will put a link in the description below that'll give a further explanation of that. It's a static route. The AD is 110, which is weird. This probably should have said 20 like we thought, like we said at the beginning of the video. I'll look into that as well and let y'all know why it says that. It's a 110. But basically, we learned it through OSPF, and it's a 110. I don't know why. I should have said the AD is 20 on this. But anyways, that is how you propagate a default route. Let's go ahead and see if we can ping. We'll have PC2 ping the web server, right? Actually, we already know he should be able to because he's connected to router 2. Let's have PC3 do it for us to have it. Ping 64.100.1.2. Pinging. Timed out, and now we got a reply. Just like we expected. So that is how you propagate a default route using OSPF. If you like this video, please comment, like, subscribe to the network.